1, finances. 2, relationships. 3, addictions. 4, trauma, unhealed. And 5, pain. Top 5 reasons why anyone would take their own lives is in those 5 that we talked about. I drank a lot, just like a lot of other veterans. We drink sometimes to cope. We drink sometimes to mask. We drink sometimes to forget. And so I was using drinking as a form of, this is what we always do. This is how we do things. And so when I decided to go sober, I realized how much of my life was dedicated to drinking and how much I missed in my kids' lives by not acknowledging that earlier. We tend to be taught to continue to mask and cover up a lot of our past traumas, even from childhood, whether it be toughen it up. We mask it by ignoring. We mask it by always trying to be the funny man in the circle, and we don't allow ourselves to really heal. And when I say heal, it could be to cry. It could be to identify and really have that deep, deep dive with yourself, asking the questions why.
Welcome to the Vinny Rock Podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The Vinny Rock Podcast.
Today, it's going to be a solo podcast. I'm going to talk about the Tomorrow Battalion retreat hosted by Gallant Few. And I'll kind of explain all that because I know it's a little confusing. But I think it's time to explain it all. So here's the podcast. Before we get started, don't forget our sponsors. Core Medical Group actually is probably a big reason where I started kind of this whole path of everything. And we'll get into that. But Core Medical Group is a testosterone replacement program. Extremely important for men to get their hormones checked. And so if you're looking for a place that is trusted by a lot of special operations and law enforcement officers, this is the place. So if you guys have questions, hit me up about Core Medical Group, okay? We also have Modern Gun School, which is an online armor school. Learn how to be an armor of guns in the comfort of your own home. Its program is highly sought out and highly recommended by a lot of people. I've had several friends of mine currently who have graduated from there. So very interested in you guys checking that out. If you guys have your GI Bill still available to you, why not use it on getting a certificate to be certified to be an armor? Why not? Okay. Grimblades.com, essentially straight razors. So if you go to Straight Razors on social media, they make some of the best razors in the game, all made in the United States. Well, I believe every product there is made in the United States, but I know the razors are, so you guys can check them out. Really love the owners of that company, and if I can do anything I can to support them, I will. United Patriot Coin. I like precious metals. I like gold and silver. I like to collect it, and I like the company. They've been good to me, so I try and be good to them. I highly recommend it. You guys go check them out. A few other things. We'll get on to some stuff later on, but let's talk about the retreat. So the retreat came about because I wanted to create a place or a weekend for men particularly, and I'm focusing on men in this instance because I am a man and I've gone through my own trials and tribulations of trying to become happy and content in my own skin. And so I started this program for men only. So that's the explanation of that. Before it was Tomorrow Battalion, we started Light the Fuse. Now, Tomorrow Battalion was in the works because I wanted to create a nonprofit that's aligned with how I believe you can save more lives with veterans and first responders. It started off veterans only. Then I realized how much my first responder side of my life deserves the same kind of support. And then more studying I started doing in psychology, I realized how much my family had been impacted by my own trauma, my own PTSD, which is now more associated with secondary post-traumatic stress for your kids and your spouse. And so that's the reason why our nonprofit is for veterans, first responders, and their families. Okay. That was been in the works But starting a nonprofit isn't as easy as I thought. And I had to get a board members on board. I had to get a secretary. I had to get a treasurer. And so where was I going to find that for people that I trusted and also who would stay in line with my mission? I was lucky enough to figure that out. And so our nonprofit is TMRW Battalion.org. You guys can go check it out. The website is being revamped currently as we speak. TMRW stands for Transition, Morale, Recreation, and Wellness. And why is because I felt that if you're going to try and save lives of your brothers and sisters, then you have to identify these certain areas that are challenges. And so we created the areas that we're willing to support financially. And we have to kind of partner up with those either organizations or different kind of facilitators, if you will. So we'll talk about that later. But we started Light the Fuse mentorship group with the intentions of creating a space where men can talk and heal. And the idea was after so long, they would be able to kind of convene together at a retreat and kind of work on or participate in some of the wellness modalities that we spoke about throughout the year. We have Carl Monger, who's on board with us. He is I don't know his current title. It might still be CEO of Gallant Few, or he is also the founder. And he's also a licensed counselor. So he's in our group. And what we do as a group is every Wednesday night we meet and we have different discussions. And when I say different discussions, we focus on these 5 areas that I've talked about before. Boom, we'll do this. 5 areas of concern in every man. And so where do we come up with those 5 areas? Well, if you Google the top 5 reasons why people might take their lives, it's going to be that. So it's going to be, boom, I'm going to put my face in front. 1, finances. 2, relationships. 3, let's do this 3. Addictions. 4, trauma, unhealed. And 5, pain. Top 5 reasons why anyone would take their own lives is in those 5 that we talked about. And in my frustrations of watching how the veteran organizations and many organizations have approached trying to help veterans, is where I decided I would take a different approach. If you're not healing or mitigating those crisis areas, well, then you are not focused on the top 5 reasons why people take their own lives. And if you're not focusing on that, then all you're doing is masking them or distracting them from healing their own shit. So as I further my study in psychology, read a ton of freaking crazy books, and also just pay attention to myself, who I am you, or you veterans and first responders who struggle, and as well as my friends around me, I was able to kind of identify like what I want to do is focus on those 5 and visualize that as the foundation of trying to keep someone alive and having them mitigate those areas of their lives by introducing different tools. And once they have that portion of their life figured out, well, then they can live a healthier, happier lifestyle. The problem with those 5 is they're usually compounding on top of each other. So, bad relationships can lead to more drinking, can lead to financial issues. Financial issues could lead to relationship issues, to so on and so forth, and they all kind of compound on each other. What I originally did for my pain, we'll start with the pain, is stem cell treatment. Not everyone can afford that. I was very fortunate enough to have a nonprofit cover my way to go to the Bahamas and get stem cell treatment. It genuinely changed my life because I have had a ridiculously terrible back from my time in Ranger Battalion, from carrying all the weight that I would sneeze and throw my back out for about 3 weeks. And so my back got so tender and I had to walk very gingerly for a long time. It was a blessing to be able to find something that was an answer for that. Now my back is still a little tender at times, especially if I do too much on my feet or I try and do too much physically when it comes to running or any kind of seems to be cardio of some sort. It can bother me a little bit, but it's nowhere near the pain levels and thresholds that I had before. Okay. So I highly recommend, if you're able to find a stem cell treatment location, that you look into it and see if it suits you. Another thing, when it comes to addiction, we'll go there. I drank a lot, just like a lot of other veterans. We drink sometimes to cope. We drink sometimes to mask. We drink sometimes to forget. And so I was using drinking as a form of, this is what we always do. This is how we do things. And so when I decided to go sober, I realized how much of my life was dedicated to drinking and how much I missed in my kids' lives by not acknowledging that earlier. And so if you also look at the statistics of your friends who have taken their own lives, you will notice that all of them have been drinking in some capacity. So if you have friends, or if you've been overseas, or if you struggle with post-traumatic stress, there's a high probability that adding alcohol to your system is a potential risk for putting you in a bad mental space that could potentially be terminal crisis. Okay. I've lost friends that I never, ever anticipated they would ever take their own life. I lost friends that I looked up to and I thought, man, they're living the dream. And they found themselves in a position where I guess for them, the only answer was that. And I refused to do that same thing to my wife and kids. So I made a very conscious decision to not drink ever again, to never become the potential statistic due to adding alcohol to my system when I still have a lot more healing to do. So I've now been sober 5 years plus. Okay. I highly recommend everybody take a deeper look into why they drink. Acknowledge the fact that drinking serves no purpose health-wise. Acknowledge the fact that we use drinking as a form of coping mechanism. And drinking tends to be a part of these self-destructive personality traits that we use that essentially kind of can destroy our lives in one way, shape, or form, from relationships to finances to work to ourselves, whether it be a bar fight or whatnot. So I'd highly recommend that you guys look at what it means to be sober, or removing alcohol or any drugs from your system and allowing your brain to heal correctly, allowing yourself to face life directly with no buffer, and learn how to manage that, because you will never be comfortable in your own skin if you can't manage life 100% sober and taking it directly on. Okay. Let's go with finances. That's a hard one for all of us, especially these days with this crazy inflation and everything else going on. I would just say that if you stop drinking, you save yourself some money, and you probably have a more clear vision on what you want to do with yourself in life. And hopefully, with that being said, you can pursue more things with more options that can help financially put you in a good position. If you're in our group, we have several financial advisors that help with people setting up retirement funds and different things. I think it's important for us to all have some kind of financial literacy. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm absolutely pretty crappy at it, but I have a wife who's pretty good. So that makes up for it. I make the money and she learns how to save it. And so that's our team effort, and it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a healthy relationship. And so next we'll go into healthy relationships. You guys know this is my third marriage. Not proud, but I'm not embarrassed. It is what it is. I would say that the reason why this marriage works is because we have better communication. And I would say I am in a better mental place with my life and able to communicate some of the things that stress me out, bother me, or things that I'm working through. I can't tell you that I was never good at that before. At the same time, there was a lot internally that I was fighting, and I'm glad now to be in a place where I'm more content with myself and understand some of the struggles that I was fighting and masking with alcohol and other things. And so I'm just in a healthier place now that I believe my relationship can be that much more healthy as well. And so some of you, I talked to a ranger just the other day who was like, oh, my life, this is this. And it was a lot because he continued to push the drinking, never healed any of his past, has a self-destructive personality trait, hard to love, hard to reciprocate love. Okay. So I know what that's like. You guys know what that's like. If you feel like your life is a little out of control in the love department or in the trying to find a significant other, or you and your significant other have this crazy love-hate dynamic, there's something there that you should probably try to address early on so it doesn't continue to fester and harbor resentment in the future. Okay? Healthy relationships. And unhealed trauma. You know, unhealed trauma is an interesting one. I go last with that because we'll get into the retreat. Unhealed trauma. We tend to be taught to continue to mask and cover up a lot of our past traumas, even from childhood, whether it be toughen it up, don't be a wuss, whatever you want to say, and so on and so forth. We mask it by ignoring. We mask it by dark comedy. We mask it by always trying to be the funny man in the circle or make an excuse or whatnot. We mask it with egos, big time egos, and we don't allow ourselves to really heal. And when I say heal, it could be to cry. It could be to identify and really have that deep dive with yourself and asking the questions why. Healing trauma is about releasing this deep-rooted guilt or this deep-rooted subconscious pain, or even like real post-traumatic stress, a visual that you can't seem to heal, so you mask it with alcohol so you can sleep better, things like that. Real deep-rooted trauma, you have to find a way to make the pain of it subside. Okay. Whether that pain be guilt, whether that pain be visually something haunting, whatever that may be, you got to find a position, and I'll say it the easiest way, of loving yourself. Of actually looking at yourself and say, you know what? I might have made some mistakes in life, but it's okay. Give myself some grace, and I love myself. And when you love yourself, then you'll allow others to love you back, and you'll have a healthy relationship, okay? So healing this deep-rooted trauma, I'm talking from childhood to military to whatever they may be. And so I would say the biggest way of doing that is acknowledging that there is a problem that you have, whatever that may be. It could be PTSD. It could be, moral injury. It could be a lot of things. Once you can identify what that is, then you can attack that, right? Which means you can focus strictly on that one thing to try and heal first. And once you do that, well, then that can subside and you can start focusing on something else in your life that you need to work on. Okay. Trying to explain this in a way that it makes it easy to understand. What's going on, y'all? Thank you for joining our show. Thank you for supporting it throughout the years. Thank you for telling your friends about it. Real quick, let me get to our sponsors. Core Medical Group, you already know. Testosterone replacement therapy. If you guys are above the age of 25 and not feeling yourself, if your wife isn't feeling the same either, yeah, it's for both. You guys can go get your blood work done at Core Medical Group. There's a lot of questions about having babies. There's a protocol for that. You can still have kids while being on TRT. I got a ton of fucking kids. But you guys go check them out. I love them. I trust them. I think you guys will love them as well. Straight Razors on IG. Do you know what that is? Grimblades.com. American made right there in Idaho. You guys should go check them out. It's a straight razor company. They make several different kinds of razors, not just straight razors, but they're known for the straight razors. I love them. The owner's an incredible person, a great American patriot, and so obviously I support them. You guys go check out Straight Razors on IG or grimblades.com. Modern Gun School. You guys have your veteran benefits still. If you're a veteran, you still have them. Go use it. Modern Gun School is for you. Learn how to be an armorer at the comfort of your own home. Learn how to make, more so fix, clean, and just be an expert and armor in your own home. You can't beat that. Go check them out. Modern Gun School. So, healing past traumas. There's a lot of ways. EMDR is a type of therapy that makes your eyes move left and right while you're being talked through or led down the path of something that bothers you. Okay? And what that does, it gets your brain in a way so there's bilateral eye movement and you can process an experience into a memory, meaning the experience doesn't continue to live on and give you this visceral and give your body this feeling that it's continuing to happen over and over again. You want to get that that experience and turn it into a memory so it's a little foggy, a little blurry, and not as pronounced, okay? So we need to get to a point. To do that, there's two methods that I know have been proven to do really well with this. So you guys can look into them if you're interested. EMDR and brain spotting. So both of those pretty effective. Both of those kind of along the same lines of what they're doing, slightly different when they're performed. Besides EMDR and brain spotting, to Wim Hof method, the cold water plunges. These all can, you're not getting down to it, but they can. And there's other things that are psychedelic assisted therapy is another one where we are able to kind of face your ego, and that ego that's kind of holding you, the self-defense mechanisms that kind of hold you together. It's like, I'm tough, don't bother me. Well, that's a lot of ego. And sometimes that ego can be detrimental to your own healing because it doesn't allow you to process things in a healthy manner. So now that I said that, EMDR, brain spotting, breathing, meditation, any kind of counseling that you want to try, talk therapy, group therapy, whatever that is, and assisted, psychedelic assisted therapies, things like ayahuasca or bufo or psilocybin. There's places that do it, and places do it with good ethics and values on trying to help heal warriors. Okay. So getting able to do that. On top of that, I'd talk about it later, is your hormones. A lot of the sadness and depression you might be feeling is because you have low T. So that's why we introduced Core Medical into the system. It's very important. Very important to get your blood work done as kind of the foundation. Like the first thing you do is blood work. Second is going to be physical work. So I think everyone should kind of get to some kind of physical fitness shape. I'm working on it. We all can work on it. There's some people that are probably perfect at it right now, but that's fine. It's just one area. But physical fitness is an important one. Okay. Spiritually, some kind of connection to a higher power of some sort, right? You're not here alone in this spinning rock. You actually feel like you're connected to others and everything is relatable and that you're not the only one going through pain your whole life. All completely false. It's all of us are going through the same thing in the current existence and all trying to be happy. And so I want people to really understand what that's like to find content in their own bodies. Okay. Let's see. Talk about mind, body, soul, spirit. I think it's really getting into a place where you're seeing the world for the perspective of it and not for the victimization of it. Okay. So let's just say something happened to you when you were a kid. You can sit here and be angry with it and harbor that resentment and carry that resentment with you for years, which is very unhealthy. Or you can get to a place where you could accept it. You could acknowledge, yes, this happened to me, but I am not a victim and I did not cause this to myself. Somebody took advantage. And then moving forward, what can I learn from this and how can I become a better person from it? And we have to get to that place. There's people in our men's group whose parents did them dirty, did them very wrong, and they're still trying to get to a place where they forgive them. But anytime you harbor resentment, it is no different than you harboring resentment towards yourself. You have to find a way to love yourself and love others, even if they've done you dirty. You have to get to a place where you can forgive them and move forward, or else it's always going to be in the back of your head. So perspective. You can say, yes, it happened to me, or you say, I'm not a victim. It is an experience. I learned a lot from it moving forward. Okay. Not easy. That's why some people do need counselors to walk them through that. But that's where we're at. So now that you understand kind of this whole grand picture, right? You can't harbor resentment. You got to love yourself so you can love others so others can love you. You got to heal past trauma so they don't kind of fester, and then you don't do self-destructive personality traits like drinking so that you end up causing more issues in the future. You have to figure out your finances, have a good job, decent, so you're not struggling too much. You have to have good relationships, right? Nice and healthy relationships. And the only way to really get to those is heal yourself first so that you're in a good place to receive love because you need to love yourself. Remember that. Okay. And healing pain. The only answer I have for that is stem cell treatment. Okay. So when me and Mike, that's my partner, when we created this retreat, we created this fully immersed experience that has an introduction to different modalities of healing. Okay. So the first one is non-psychedelic plant medicine combo to include, I'm going to screw this up, the name of it, Sanagra and Hape. Okay. And so what the experience is, we're going to be receiving the frog medicine, right? And before that, you kind of get your body into a good place to receive the medicine. And so you're doing a snort of tobacco, which could make you kind of nauseous. It did me. or you can actually take an eye drop of Hape, which is like a hot, spicy eye drop. Both of those create an effect on your body. The peptides are released. Your body's fighting it. And it gives kind of this really nice, fresh, like, oh, I'm glad I got through that. Okay. And then you do combo. And that's a different sensation and experience. After they're done with that, they get a little bit of a break. They talk, they socialize, they get you to talk about what the things they went through, how their body felt. What were they thinking in there? Why do they feel like this might have been a good move for them? Whatever the case, they talk. After that, they switch, the group switch, and then you go to Wim Hof. You learn how to breathe in Wim Hof. You learn how to do everything, and then eventually you do the cold water immersion. Okay? From that moment on, they go back into a similar group, and then we start to kind of go through the rest of the day. After those two events, they go into eating lunch, and then we'll go into the next kind of scenario, which is pretty fast one. It is called the walk to the arena. That is a mental toughness drill, something I created and vetted through some high-level MMA coaches like Greg Jackson, and they highly believe in this method, and so we did that. I won't tell you a lot about that because I kind of keep that one a secret, or else it'll lose the effect on and the importance of the drill. And so that is that, called Walk to the Arena. After the Walk to the Arena, we were able to take some time to have some guest speakers. What we did was allow our men who were there to speak or give their testimony. Didn't matter what they want to do. They could just talk their talk. And in that, we have some great speakers. One we call him Banksy. He's a Jared Danielson. He's an incredible speaker. He is like one of the best public speakers I've ever got to work with, and a good friend of mine. And he's on the board for TMRW. We have Andrew Chavarria, who is a pastor who has a great message because he is a veteran himself who's experienced hardship, and he has now turned around to repay the favor back to veterans and first responders. And we had the list goes on for everybody who was there who had experience in life, who wants to state their case to the team, to the group, to the men around them, wants to give their testimony on why they're there and what they've learned in life. And it was a very powerful experience. It got emotional at times, like it does. And that was that. After that night, we had some music and kind of like a social hour of just getting together, having good food, and broing it out. During that night before the sun got dark, we had 5 individuals chose to walk their walk with God, and they got baptized by our pastor in the water that's right there in the lake in the Jacksboro City, in a campsite called Camp Godstone. Beautiful place. We rented it out for everyone. It was gorgeous. And the next morning, we had a couple discrepancies that we will fix next year with travel, but they got to do Sweat Lodge. Sweat Lodge is a Native American kind of ceremony. We had a Native American brother of mine, a veteran, who was able to host and partake in a Sweat Lodge. I think we had a total of 16 guys who were able to participate in that, who were willing to, and that was it. We had an amazing time of trying to give guys different tools. Tools like 1, brotherhood and camaraderie is super important. 2, and then 3 would be networking. 4, knowing that they're not alone, that they're men and they're just trying to get through life and be happy. All right. You got to learn different non-psychedelic plant medicine tools, breathing tools. Oh, there was some breathings, somatic breathing, I believe it was called. That one was crazy. The stuff that happened in that room was crazy. But that was the other one. So we're giving them tools. The goal of the whole thing. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the time because I got to pick up my kids. The goal of the whole weekend was to introduce many different tools. So when one of these individuals find themselves in a moment of crisis, say life has hit hard, say they lost their job, their wife freaking is leaving them, they lost all their money, they can get to a place like, let me think, let me breathe, use one of the tools that were taught to them this weekend, whether it be meditation, one of the non-psychedelic plant medicines, Sweat Lodge, breathing, and they can lean into that for a little bit. and they can find themselves to get into a better place, or they reach out to the brothers that they met here who they know are willing to take on the call at any time. That's essentially what the weekend was about. We had another thing we didn't have time for called Healing Through Hitting, another thing I created, but we'll talk about that when I can, because I have some exciting news about that one. But that's what the retreat's about. The retreat is about giving people tools so when they find themselves in hardship, they can fight through them. If you understand the power of breathing, you know what I'm saying when I say that. Breathing can put you in a really hard spot, or breathing can put you in a really calm state. Depends on how you use it, okay? Us actors, when someone says to get emotional, we start breathing like we're emotional. The body responds as if it's emotional. The brain believes it's emotional, and boom, here come the flood works. It's no different than if you're trying to calm yourself down, how you can calm your brain down and you can get yourself past through some really uncomfortable times, whether it be anxiety, depression, or just plain old, just in it. And I know this because I've done it, all right? I know all of this because I've done all of this. I've been the guinea pig for my brothers and sisters for many, many years, from doing stem cell treatment to doing hormone replacement therapy, from doing Wim Hof method, from doing breathing methods, from doing non-psychedelic plant medicine, from doing, the list goes on and on and on. I've done everything you can think of, from TBI clinics. And I've taken everything I can from all of this experience and being able to, here's what I think is valuable and what you can take from it. Here's what worked for me. And if you guys are interested, I can guide you and help you work for you. That is 100% what the retreat was about. And that's what 100% what the retreat will continue to be. Now, if that wasn't enough, my crazy butt decided to add a second portion to this retreat and try and heal the secondary post-traumatic stress events that happen to our children. Again, our men, our young, add my hand there again, men. So we had 6 young men went through a search and trauma and rescue mission that lasted 3 days. We taught them all the basics, from entering clearing rooms to medical interventions to basics of land navigation to carrying a ruck, carrying a patient. And then the next morning we briefed them like as if it was an Army Ranger mission, and we had them prepare for the mission. We had them brief back the mission, then we had them accomplish the mission. There was no way of accomplishing that mission in a hasty time. The dummy was heavy, right? We had to rescue Randy doll. It was heavy, hidden in a good place. The young men did very well. What we wanted to see was young men push themselves as a team, as a unit, and work together. And when they were done with their mission of carrying this rescue Randy doll, multiple different locations from day and night, working together as a team in a cohesive unit, they were able to graduate from this course knowing that much more about themselves. The challenges that they faced, the hardships they thought would never end, eventually they did, and they learned a lot more about themselves. I think it's important for our youth to start to challenge themselves more than outside the comfort zone of a video game. I think it's important to put them in leadership positions early so we can raise tomorrow's leaders now. I think it's important to teach the young men resiliency, because it seems to be lost on our youth these days. And if we can put them through some hard shit now, knowing that there's safety mitigations throughout the whole thing, we can put them through some hard shit now. They get to face it now. And they get to learn how to manage that and be successful. So we decided to create the teenage, what do we call it? Teenage Leadership Challenge. That's what it's called. That's hosted by Light the Fuse, right? So that's why it was successful. We had 3 cadre members who were out there giving them their all, but also implemented safety measures to make sure they were safe at all times. Yes, we pushed them hard, but they left, like I said, with smiles on their face and very proud of what they've accomplished. And at the same time, those 2 were going on. There was a third thing. Let's see if I can get my fingers. Boom. Was the relationship counseling portion of the course. This year, I brought my wife and several other cadre members' wives and families. I like that. So we could focus a lot more on healing with our significant others. Something that I didn't think about early on until I started reading a couple books about this was the fact that I was digging deep into healing myself, but I'm not allowing my wife to heal from the issues that I probably introduced into the family. She never had to date someone before me who had post-traumatic stress, who had these day terrors, who would make it scary to sleep at night or how to wake me up, and she has to think about those things. She never had experienced that. And I had to unfortunately see my wife's face terrified of me in the middle of the night while I'm doing a night terror and not really having any control over myself, but hovering over her. And her fear was that I might hurt her. And as a husband, that's not a good feeling to see that face of horror on your wife's face and knowing that you're the one who created it. And so I asked that she would join me in my own healing, and so we can heal together. And several other couples did the same thing. And I find that that was one of the most important things that I have learned in my life, is to allow my wife to go on my healing journey with me so she can heal too. And so in one weekend, we were able to work with over 30 individuals and helping them manage different things in their lives, introduce them to many different tools that hopefully they can take with them for the rest of their life as well. And me, my wife, and a couple other couples can learn about communication and different things that we tend to do, subconsciously in our relationships. And so I am very honored to have been a part of that and to continue to develop it and create it into something that's special, something that can have huge impacts on society. And, we hope to continue to host these in our future. If you guys are interested in supporting by any way, shape, or form, whether it be corporate sponsors or $2, you can, and you can go to TMRWbattalion.org. If you guys are interested in hosting or have a place that could host a team leadership challenge itself, those can be independent through Like the Fuse. We have our cadre. We have the cadre in the curriculum. We just need a place to do it and someone to cover it. And so we're interested in doing that as well. And I'm developing a new program for young adults, meaning 18 all the way up to about, I'd say 27, who can go through a military challenge. I created another kind of program that is similar to like a ranger school for them to help build leaders, put them through hardships, test themselves a little bit. But that's it. Hey, don't forget to check out several things that I'm doing if you want to continue to support. Borderline book, it's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. Borderland is an Ironclad original. You guys can go check that out on YouTube, support that, or Spotify or iTunes. Edge of a Nation is something I produce for the Border Patrol directly. That's me going out into the field and going to do ride-alongs with the Border Patrol directly in the field with them. It's freaking awesome. You guys go check all that out. Don't forget, Henry Rifles is one of my sponsors. I like them. I'm waiting to get my rifles here soon.